What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Show, aka the Power Rankings Podcast. I am Elliot Harrison, joined by Marcus Mosher. We are going to be picking your Week 6 matchups, our Week 6 matchups. And Marcus, I need to start off by saying I feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars of podcast hosts. I mean, like, my wheels are coming off.
I wouldn't say that. I would say you're more like the Miami Dolphins.
Thanks. I can't get in the right Zoom link. I can't find my notes.
It's all right.
My pictures won't stay up. I mean, it's just my pictures never stay up for the podcast. So that we're used to, and I just, but my goodness.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. You're the Miami Dolphins, who are going to win this week, by the way. Just letting you know.
I don't agree with you there, but I wonder how many people do that. Like, is there a plumber right now who just like stripped a bolt trying to get something done and said, I am the Jacksonville Jaguars of plumbers.
I'm sure they use more offensive language than that, but yeah, let's go with it.
I have Spectrum cable. Sometimes I feel like they're the Jacksonville Jaguars of cable.
Poor Spectrum. We're not going to be getting any advertisements from them, I guess, right?
I just ruined the sponsor. Not a good idea in a new podcast, but hey, we're doing the best that we can here. He's at Marcus Mosher on Twitter. I am at Harrison NFL on Twitter. You can catch this podcast wherever you download podcasts. But if you're listening to us right now, you kind of already know that, don't you? I had a little bit of a scare today, Marcus. I thought Jags Dolphins. For some reason, I had it stuck in my head that Dolphins at Jags was our Thursday night game. And I started going through my mind like, okay, what am I going to do tonight? Am I going to play Stratego? Am I going to bust out? I'm not. So am I going to be subjected to 4 quarters of this?
No, even worse, you're going to have to wake up early on Sunday morning to watch this game, because this is what we send to London. It's our 6:30 Pacific time game. So get up early, have a pot of coffee, and get ready for Jacksonville, Miami. Should be a lot of fun, right?
Yes. Well, we do have a pretty cool Thursday night game coming up, Bucs Eagles. Before we get to that, any thoughts off the top for you?
Yeah, this is the first week of bye, so we should at least mention that, right? We have a couple teams with the Saints, the 49ers, the Falcons, and I believe the Jets on bye this week.
Yep.
How's that for off the top of my head? So bye weeks are going to make things interesting. Next week, Ellie, I'm just letting you know now, next week's byes are brutal. So if you want to score some points with the spouse, make some plans for next Sunday, because I promise you won't be missing anything.
That's right. If you want to score some points, take her to Long John Silver's.
There you go. I said apple picking, go to a pumpkin patch, whatever you need to do, because next week is a pretty brutal slate.
Applebee's. Do you remember did you ever see Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Remember the place that Judge Reinhold worked where he had to wear that costume?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that movie is
that like a fancy restaurant that you would go to? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I don't really have a lot of brand loyalty. One thing I do miss sometimes is good Cajun food, but that's a topic for another day. That's
Can we start picking games? Like, people are just annoyed. They're probably too.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's get to that Thursday. Tampa, Philly. The line on this game, Tampa Bay is a 6.5 point favorite on the road. What do you think, Elliot?
I like Tampa Bay by 7, so that's fine by me. I really feel like the best way to beat the Bucs, Marcus, is through their secondary, right? You handle their pass rush, which is decent, and you can get to their secondary, you can beat these guys. They played the Dolphins last week, but that's not their strength, throwing the ball down the field. It's not the Eagles' strength either. They still need their young receivers to develop. They're showing signs, but this is not a down the field, push the ball vertically on a consistent basis football team right now. And they're not running the ball well either. That's why I don't really like Philadelphia.
I will say I will say that the Eagles do have the formula to potentially hurt Tom Brady a little bit in this one, right? Like their front four is really good. We mentioned J-Ron Hargrave almost every week on this show.
Yep.
If they can get pressure with their front four, their corners aren't too bad with Darius Slay and Steven Nelson. I wouldn't be shocked if this game is closer than what we anticipate. I'll just say that.
The Bucs tackles have been playing really well. Of course, Hargrave is coming up the middle, so that's going to be on the interior of the Bucs offensive line. But I think the Bucs have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. Would you disagree with that?
No, I wouldn't. I think they should be able to protect Brady for the most part in this one.
One last point on this. The Eagles have the young receivers. They have Rager. They've got Devonte Smith. They've got Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins has actually been kind of the surprise. I think he was a 6th round pick last year. He's been productive for this team and has made some big plays.
Yeah, I mean, and Dallas Goedert's been playing well. He's not going to play in this game due to COVID protocols, but like the weapons are pretty decent in Philly. I think this is a big game for Jalen Hurts, right? Like a national TV game against a really good team. This one's going to go a long way to kind of changing the public perception on him one way or the other. So I'm curious to see how Hurts performs.
Well, why don't we do 25 more minutes on Quez Watkins and Applebee's?
Sounds good.
Sounds amazing. Actually, we will have more on this game tomorrow. If you feel like podding tomorrow. Do you feel like podding tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds like good.
Podding as a verb, by the way. Very weird.
Let's get to a better game, as we previously mentioned. Miami Dolphins against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London, as we mentioned, an early kickoff. So make sure you set your alarms. Dolphins, 3-point favorites in this game.
Are you a Gaskin guy?
I mean, he's a running back, so not really. No,
because he's been okay. He's been okay.
Fine.
The Dolphins haven't really been able to run the ball. The amazing thing to me, I've got this written down in my trusty notes I printed this week. So much for my cursive experiment with this thing. 31st in points, 31st in yards. Their defense is 30th in points and 30th in yards. Usually there's some kind of discrepancy. No, they're just awful all the way around. They're averaging 3.7 yards per carry as a team, which I know yards per carry is not either one of our favorite stats, but in today's NFL, that is truly awful. I like the Jags by at least 3 in this game.
Really? That's shocking to me. I just think Miami's a better team. Like they have more talent. I just don't know how Jacksonville's going to be able to put up points in this game because the corners for Miami are really good. Like I don't see Marvin Jones or Laviska Shenault having a good game. So
do I need to say how they can do it? I've been screaming it for 5
weeks. Saying just give the ball to James Robinson.
Yes.
I know. I think they are going to do that. I just think Miami thinks they're a playoff team. This is a game you have to win. I think they're going to get it done.
Miami thinks they're a playoff team. I'm glad Miami thinks they're.
Well, listen, you don't make that move for Jalen Waddle by giving up a first round, your first round pick if you don't think you're going to make it to the playoffs, right? Like this is a team that's kind of gone all in on making a playoff run this year. If they're going to do that, they got to start now.
Jags got to win sometime, bro. All right.
Do they? Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Next, a really interesting 1:00 game here on the East Coast. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Washington football team. The Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites in this game.
I think they should be. I think this is a really bad matchup for Washington. Kansas City has been fantastic on third down. Washington has been horrible on third down. So I'm talking about the Washington defense. So I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs defense has not played well. Chris Jones has been hurt, but Washington hasn't really gotten it going on offense either. I don't see any way Washington wins this football game at all. And I think Chiefs by 7 is actually too small.
All right, you ready for our first graphic of the week? If you're watching this on Brinks TV on YouTube, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? This is
my
stay away for a bunch of different reasons. The Chiefs coming off, a Sunday night game, playing on the road. Washington does have a lot of talent on defense, especially in their front four. If they can pressure Patrick Mahomes, I think they'll have a chance. Also, Kansas City's defense has a ton of problems right now. So if Washington can run the ball with Antonio Gibson, Taylor Heineke can make plays. I just don't see the Chiefs blowing out Washington. I think this is a touchdown game that could potentially be a field goal game. I'm staying away.
I'm gonna hold you on this. Okay. You showed faith in Washington last week. By the way, Chiefs are allowing 5.2 yards per carry. I was going to say this could be an Antonio Gibson game, but I didn't want to say it because I knew Marcus was going to be like, "Do you want me to say it? That running backs don't matter." So There we go. The man speaks out of both sides of his mouth.
There you go.
Running back.
Well, that's it's called podcasting, right? Next.
What's next?
Next one, the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. The Packers are 4-point road favorites in this game.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for Green Bay. I bet you're going to pick the Bears, aren't you?
No.
So you're not going to do it?
Come on. No. Aaron Rodgers, 20-5 career against the Chicago Bears. 55 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Like, he just dominates his team. I like the Bears. I think they're going to be a borderline playoff team this year. They're not close to the Packers. I think Green Bay wins by at least a touchdown.
A couple little stats and figures here for you. Devonte Adams right now, 42 catches, 579 yards. The only thing he's not really doing is scoring a bunch of touchdowns. He only has 2. I think he had 18 last year, but 115.8 yards per game. If we were still playing 16 games, that would translate into over an 1,800-yard season in a 17-game season. That's going to be in the high 1900s, which would break the NFL record. It wouldn't break the record, by the way, for yards per game. That's Wes Chandler in 1982. Bears, 18 sacks. They have 30 QB hits. Although, by the way, QB hits is a flawed stat because that includes quarterback sacks.
Right.
So when they say they've got this many sacks and this many QB hits, the QB hits include the sacks.
It also
Green Bay by 7.
Okay, there you go. That's all we needed to say. Chicago's offensive line is bad. I just don't see any way they can hold up in this one.
What if we get into a Quez Watkins stat discussion for the next 20 minutes?
That sounds absolutely awful. All right, our next one, the Los Angeles Rams taking on the New York Giants. Daniel Jones is supposed to play in this game, but the Rams are still 10-point favorites. Who do you got in this one?
Why not sit Daniel Jones? Why not?
Because
this year?
Well, because that's the problem is I think the Giants believe they are, right? I think the Giants think that this is a year that they need to make the playoffs. I think Joe Judge and Jason Garrett are probably coaching for their jobs. So I don't think you want to go down 1-5 on the season, right?
Yeah. And so not to get into the Giant player safety conversation, but as long as coaches have such quick hooks from their GMs and owners, then you're going to have guys playing hurt that go against the league's initiatives on player safety.
Well, you have your general manager who's on he might be fired as well. Dave Gettleman's been there a long time and that team hasn't been good. So you need to win as many games as possible to save your job. So that's why
I understand it. It's just it's a tough deal. Either way, I like the Rams by about 10 points in this game. The Giants are banged up at running back. All their wide receivers are banged up and they've missed practice time this week. It's going to be a Devontae Booker show, and I thought Mike Glennon still might be Mike Glennon. Do you see the Giants making enough of a game of this?
I think they're going to hang around for a while. I do think they're going to run the ball. I think they can potentially get some pressure on Stafford. It's also one of those weird 1 p.m. starts for a West Coast team. Like those teams typically just start off really slow. I'm probably staying away, but if you force me to pick, I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, the last time we talked about that, though, that was the Raiders going to Pittsburgh and the Raiders beat. So,
well, how about the Broncos
last week?
Whoa. How about the Broncos last week against the Steelers? Right, that game was basically over in the first quarter. Right, Denver came out so flat in that one. So
it's because Ben Roethlisberger is so good, as you pointed out.
Stop it. Yeah. All right, our next game: the Houston Texans against the Indianapolis Colts. Texans getting 10 points in this game.
That's too rich for my blood. I like
a 1-4 team giving 10 points. How about that?
Yes, I don't like that at all. I do like the Colts in this game. Carson Wentz, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has almost 100 passer rating. He's played a little bit better than I think people would give him credit for. If you watch the game Monday night, I hate to put some of that game on Frank Reich, but I put some of that game on Frank Reich as good as I think he is. I don't put that on Carson Wentz.
I agree. He basically, took the ball out of his hands in the last drive of the game. And I hate that, especially when you spend a first round pick on Carson Wentz to show that he's a franchise quarterback. I hate it. I will say this though, Elliot, they got to get the ball to Jonathan Taylor more. Like he's the one running back where I feel like he should be touching the ball 25 times a game because
you are so funny.
He's good.
But I don't want to hear you talk about how running backs don't matter the whole time. Not to talk about it.
I just think this is a really talented player in he's year 2. He's super explosive. Get him the ball. You don't have very many other playmakers on that team. Use him as much as possible. That's all I'll say.
You know whose team's running backs don't matter?
Who's that?
Houston's. They're averaging 3.1 yards per carry. Tell me what Lindsey and David Johnson and Mark Ingram have done this year.
Nothing, but
nothing.
I kind of hope that Mark Ingram gets traded at the trade deadline, because I do think on the right team he could be useful. Like, how about Baltimore?
He's not as young as he used to be.
Marcus. No, but like
he's an older player now.
Could he be the best running back on the Ravens right now? Like, he knows that scheme really well. I think he's better than Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman. I'm just putting that out there.
I think Ingram's had a really nice career, but he does have some mileage. I'm not saying he's done, but the running back position, when you're around 30 years old, that's when it usually starts to come.
Okay. Next game is the one I'm probably the most excited to watch this weekend.
Hold on. I got to stop you. We should say Colts straight up in this game for sure. We were just talking about the line. Yes. Maybe a decent suicide pick. If you haven't used the Colts, this would be the week to use the Colts. Okay. You may
I agree. Chargers, Ravens. Chargers are actually a 2.5 point underdog in this game. Listen, Allie, I don't understand this at all. The Chargers are a better team. The Ravens are coming off an emotional Monday Night Football game. They've got injuries all over the place. I love the Chargers, not only against the spread, but straight up in this one.
I've got the Chargers winning 28-24. How's that sound to you?
So we both think the Chargers are really, really good. And if you are a good team, you've got to win this game on the road. I think Justin Herbert's going to do it. I say this every week. He's my favorite player in the league to watch right now. One quick thing on Lamar Jackson, though. He's on pace to be the first player ever to throw for 4,000 yards and run for 1,000 in the same season. However, he's actually on pace to have about 5,600 passing yards this year, which is absolutely incredible. What a fun player Lamar Jackson is.
It is, but I asked the question, and this kind of goes to a debate that's been had for the last, 5-10 years, when people, for example, ask, like, how's Troy Aikman in the Hall of Fame when they look at his numbers? If it doesn't translate to winning, who cares? The game against Tennessee 2 years ago in the divisional playoffs, he had a massive game statistically, one of the greatest statistical games in postseason history. And what happened?
Well, they were behind
that game handily.
They were behind in that game almost the entire time, right?
Which they've been behind a lot this year at times too. Maybe not against Denver, but look at the game Monday night. Look at the Raider game the first week of the season. He had to make plays. I'm not disparaging Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying, if this is your recipe for success, I don't think it's going to last.
I do, because I think he's making up for so much, right? Like, how many other quarterbacks in the league could go to an offense where the entire offensive line has changed from week one? They've had 4 guys go on injured reserve. All 3 of their top running backs are out. Their wide receivers can't stay healthy. And the defense is not very good. You mentioned that last week or on Tuesday's show. Like, the defense has just not been very good this year.
Yeah.
They're basically putting it all on Lamar Jackson's back and telling him, go carry us to victory. He has, though. They're 4-1. They're playing really, really well because of Jackson.
I'm not saying that Jackson's not good. I'm saying, how long can this last? How long could someone be the centerpiece like this over and over again and run this many times and not twist an ankle, right? Not pull a hamstring.
He's done it in college and he's done it in the NFL. He's kind of built to last, right? Is that the Ford slogan? Built to last? Dude, that's exactly what he is.
Please, dude.
How's that for a sponsorship?
If we're worried about Derrick Henry, I think we should be a little worried about Lamar Jackson. Now, he's pretty good at avoiding some hits, but still. By the way, I looked at the Ravens corners on your favorite website, Pro Football Focus. It's not great. Really not good, man.
Hey, well, listen, really they've had some injuries, right? Marcus Peters out for the year, Chris Westry out for the year. Yes. Like they've been battling some pretty significant injuries on that side of the ball.
A couple more news and notes here on this game. Austin Eckler has caught 23 of 25 targets. Granted, most of these are short throws, but still, that's pretty phenomenal for 3 touchdowns from the running back position, not to mention averaging 5.2 yards per carry. And then, boy, do you think the Ravens might miss Matt Judon, the way their secondary is playing? It'd be nice to have his 6.5 sacks. Of course, you can't pay everybody. So either way, I've got the Chargers winning 28-24. You have the Chargers as well. What's the over-under on this game?
It's pretty high. It's one of the highest of the week. I'm pulling it up right now. I believe it is 52.5.
Yeah. So I'm within a half point. I guess I could have said 29-24.
Yeah, that's fine. Our next game. All right. Next game. One I'm actually really excited to watch. And it doesn't sound great, but it's the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Detroit Lions. The Bengals are 3.5 point road favorites in this one.
You want to go ahead and make your prediction now? Because I know what it is.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals. But it's
cover that. I'm shocked.
No, but here's why it's a big game, right?
Okay.
If the Bengals are going to be a contender in the AFC, this is a game you have to win, right? You're just a significantly more talented team than Detroit. I know you're going on the road. You're coming off a pretty emotional loss. Win this game, and don't only win it, dominate. If you can't dominate, then I'm gonna have real questions about, can they contend for the rest of the season? But I am picking the Bengals here.
Courtney, can you put up that red graphic?
Oh no, there's no way you're staying away from this one, right?
I am.
Why? Tell me.
I have the Bengals by 3. I consider 3.5 to be a very difficult line.
It is
for this game. Well, for any game. And the Lions I think they're going to try to win so hard for their head coach, even though the Bengals, I think, are a better team. I could easily see Detroit upsetting them in this game. By the way, have you noticed Uzomah for the Bengals tight end at all?
Yeah, he's good. He's a good player.
We haven't talked about him once, not once. And I feel remiss in that because last week I mentioned, Higgins and Chase and Boyd and Mixon. I was talking about all their skill players, and I didn't mention him. He's caught 84% of his targets, and he's getting some plays down the field. He's not averaging like 9 yards per catch. I just wanted to mention him. Of course, I know you've been pretty high on the Bengals defense actually this year, outperformed your expectations, but you don't see any way the Lions could upset them here?
I mean, we said this every week that the Lions play really hard, but the Bengals are just so much more talented. Question for you. What's the difference between a Bengal and a Lion?
Isn't a Bengal a tiger?
Yeah, it's actually like a bigger version of a tiger.
Yeah. So was that supposed to be a hard question?
I don't know. I don't even know the answer. I was just asking because you know it all. I was just wanting to see what you thought.
My comment about the tight end Uzomah was much more
I was thinking of Bengal versus Lion. But anyways, all right, our next game. Vikings and Panthers. The Vikings are 1.5 point road favorites in this game, Elliot.
Courtney, for the second straight game, could you put that nice, pretty red graphic up? Staying away from this one I'm not going to say like what, but I'm staying away from this one big time. How can you pick this game, right? So we don't know if CMC is going to play, okay? Carolina was great the first 3 weeks. They've been so-so the last couple of weeks at best. Sam Darnold has been inconsistent. But as CMC plays, I think they've played overall with him better than Minnesota has played with their horses. Minnesota's not getting it done in games when it really matters. And part of that is that they've been out penalized compared to their opponents, 33-22. You can't be head minus 11 on what I call the penalty diff and expect to win close games, Marcus. I don't trust the Vikings. I don't.
I do in this one because I think they've got better quarterback play. Dalvin Cook is supposed to come back, and I trust their receivers against this Carolina secondary that is really banged up. Still no Stephon Gilmore. He's not eligible to come back off the PUP until after this week. JC Horn is out. Justin Burris is out. I think the Vikings are going to have a lot of success in the passing game. I like Minnesota -3, -3.5. I just think they're going to win and cover.
I like the Vikings by 3 in this game myself. Okay. But I'm not confident about it at all. And I'm confident telling you that I'm not confident about it. And this is something I talk about with people that gamble like you know, there are games that you don't have to, you think you know who's going to win, but if you're not confident about it, just walk away from it. Who cares? The Vikings third down defense has been absolutely great, but their drives are bogging down on offense. And it's not just red zone. The red zone's actually okay. Again, it's penalties. They're getting out penalized compared to other teams. They're making mistakes. Every time they can't afford a mistake, they're getting it. So it's not like they're a turnover machine, Marcus. It's not like they're the most sloppy team in the league. It's just when they can least afford it, they're making mistakes. That's why I don't have confidence in them right now.
I do. Shout out to the Minnesota fans. I have confidence in your team. You're going to get a W this week.
Okay, so make yourself friendly with all the Vikings fans.
Yes, okay. All of them.
All right, I had a Tommy Kramer jersey in 1988. Does that give me anything?
I've got a Randy Moss jersey. Does that count? There you go. Okay. All right, our next game, the Arizona Cardinals against the Cleveland Browns. The Cardinals are undefeated. but they are actually 3-point underdogs in this one, Elliot.
That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, this is a tough road contest, but I did some digging deep here on Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
He has had so many opportunities and struggled so much on third down. We've talked about this many times. I feel like third down, that is a great metric for quarterbacks, maybe not for holistic offense. On third down, he's got no touchdowns. He's got one interception. He's got 5.4 yards per attempt, which is terrible.
Awful.
He's been sacked 5 times. And Cleveland has needed him to make plays on third down. They needed it against Minnesota, even though they won the game. They needed it then. They needed it earlier in the year against Kansas City to put that game away. This is a really tough game to pick, but I like the Cardinals 24-20.
Are you ready for my graphic for this one, Elliot?
Sure.
This is one of my locks. I think the Cardinals are just a better team. And when I kind of go through everything, they just win a lot of the matchups. Like I trust Kyler Murray more. I trust their defense more. I trust their playmakers on offense more. I just think the Cardinals are a more well-rounded team. I think they're going to be able to throw the ball basically at will against this Browns defense. I love the Cardinals straight up in this one, not even against the spread, just straight up.
Their run defense has struggled. 14th in rushing attempts, 28th in yards allowed. That's never a good sign. However, luckily, they're playing the best running team in football, and I'm being facetious. If they're going to get beat, that's how they're going to get beat. If the Browns absolutely pound it and pound it and pound it and pound it again.
I will say that the Browns offensive line is pretty beat up. Jedrick Wills missed last week. J.C. Treader, their center's injured. Jack Conklin got hurt in their game last week. So yeah. I agree. Cleveland's going to want to run the ball as much as possible in this one. I just don't know how the offensive line is going to perform against J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, and those guys.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. And I told you Kyler Murray, I think, is the MVP of the league. You've got Matt Stafford right now. I assume you're sticking with that?
Actually, I'm not. I'm changing it.
No?
Am I allowed to change it?
Yeah. Is it Lamar Jackson?
No, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Okay.
Brady's on pace to throw for like 5,500 yards and 50-something touchdowns. And if he does that, especially at his age, I don't see how he's not going to be the MVP.
I like that you say especially. That's one of my favorite things that you do. And I love the fact that you asked me if you could change MVP vote because it's week 6.
Well, the good thing, if you're listening to this on Friday and Brady has a really good game, it's going to sound even better. So there you go.
Week 6.
Yeah,
what's next?
Dallas Cowboys against the New England Patriots.
Oh, you're so jazzed for this game.
I'm pumped.
Jazzed.
Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites, which can you remember the last time the Patriots were underdogs at home in back-to-back games? Because I'm sure it hasn't happened in a long, long time. But who do you got?
Well, I've got Dallas in this game. I'm curious how the Patriots are going to play it defensively. My guess, play 6 in the box maximum and let Pollard and Zeke beat you, because they can't afford to get into a track meet with the Cowboys pass offense the way it's playing right now. And I know the Cowboys are running the football so well. If I'm New England, I'd rather that. Mac Jones has been highly efficient, but that doesn't mean I don't want Mac Jones in a 34-30 game, because I'm surefire going to lose the game that way. So if the Cowboys feed it to Pollard and Zeke 35 times, I think that's better for the Patriots in this instance. Where do you line up Judon? Do you play him on the other side and take your chances with Terrence Steele?
Probably. I've got the Patriots straight up in this game for a couple different reasons. Is that surprising?
Yes, because you're a homer.
No, I'm actually the opposite of a homer.
But didn't you pick the Panthers to beat the Cowboys? I think you did.
I probably did, but
I think you did.
All right, so Patriots are a little bit more desperate team right now. They can ill afford to go down 2-4 after. New England's pretty good at home. Like as we saw against Tampa Bay, they can play really well against some high flying passing offenses. Cowboys have a week 7 bye. Wouldn't be surprised if they're looking forward to that a little bit. And I'm just pointing that out. And then on top of that, Bill Belichick is just really good against Dak Prescott. The last 2 times they played, the Cowboys have scored a combined 19 points. So I think that New England's going to be able to run the ball in this game. Nobody's really challenged the Cowboys' run defense yet. Like when they do, they have a ton of success, but nobody's been able to stick with it. I think New England's going to just try to run the ball 35 times in this game and keep it like a 20-17 type of game. I like New England.
Now, wait a minute. Did you say the last two times these teams played, the Patriots allowed 19 points?
19 total points, yes.
Okay. So 2019, that was that rainy, kind of sloppy game in New England. 2015, the Cowboys were awful. Who started that game? Was that Castle or Whedon?
That was Castle, yes.
That was a Castle show? Awesome. Now, I will say 2011 was a pretty low-scoring game. They played up in New England. 2003, when they played Parcells-Belichick, I think the Cowboys got shut out. The only high-scoring game I can remember in this series 2007, when it was kind of a track meet, but New England pulled away. I think they won Marcus by about 14 in that game. Of course, that was that amazing Patriots team. Do you know the last time the Patriots beat the Cowboys?
You mean the last time the Cowboys beat the Patriots?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yes. The last time the Cowboys beat the Patriots. Do you know?
It was 1996.
That is correct. And I talked to my
12-6.
That's right. I talked to my former colleague, Willie McGinnis. This is a few years ago about that game. And he talked about how they played him at defensive end, and he had been a stand-up linebacker, right? So he had to go up against 2-A and Larry Allen. A stand-up linebacker getting double teamed by Mark 2-A and Larry Allen. He was like, that was not he said, I could totally understand when people got Larry Allen-itis week before a game.
Yes.
But I remember that game very, very well. Actually, I remember all those games. The Cowboys had a chance in 2011 to win up there, and they weren't able to get it done. That's when everyone thought DeMarco Murray was going to be the next big time back. He ended up having
he was an all-pro guy. Yeah.
He had a good career. That was around that time though. I like the Cowboys in this game, and I think Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper are going to be very motivated in this game, given the way the 2019 game ended.
We shall see. I think it's going to be a really fun, closer game than what people anticipate. Our next game, an AFC West battle, the Raiders against the Broncos. The Raiders are 3.5-point underdogs in this one.
Ooh, I like the Raiders in this game. I've got the Raiders by 3. I think this is going to be a relatively low-scoring game, but I don't mean like the 17-14 variety.
Yeah.
I have Carl Nassib with 2 sacks in this game.
Okay. How about that? I think this is going to be a very emotional week for the Raiders. It already has been for a million different reasons. John Gruden was like in the facility making the game plan on Monday. He had meetings with the players, and all of a sudden he was gone by Tuesday morning. Like, I know the emails are absolutely awful, but the players did really love John Gruden. Like, they loved playing for him. So to see him leave just abruptly, it was a big thing for them. I just think they're going to come out really flat, Elliot. And the offensive line has not played well. Von Miller is going to have just a huge game against Brandon Parker. I like the Broncos to win and cover.
This is another game that I would skip because it's really hard to predict.
Divisional games are weird.
Yep. Division games are weird. The Broncos have not been playing well at all. I think we can agree on that.
Yes.
They had a terrible game against Baltimore. Until the fourth quarter, they played pretty lousy in Pittsburgh. I realize that this is a home game for them. But again, you mentioned this is an emotional week for the Raiders. How do we know that they don't come out and just ball? So
they could. They do have a lot of respect for Rich Bisaccia, the interim head coach. So I would not be surprised, but it's just a lot's going on. I'll just say that.
The offense and defense should still be the same pretty much. I know it's a big deal what's happened there. I mean, Derek Carr, though, has not played well the last 2 weeks. He's definitely got to get it going. But I like the Raiders in this game. Okay.
We've got quite a few disagreements. I like that.
We do.
We do. All right, our next game, our Sunday night football game. It's the Seattle Seahawks, led by Geno Smith, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. These Seahawks are 5.5-point underdogs. I will say, Elliot, I checked this line before the Russell Wilson injury, and the Seahawks were actually favored by 3. So that is quite a swing without Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would not favor the Seahawks in this game at all. I like Pittsburgh to win this game. Geno Smith, in case you're wondering, because it's been so long since he played. So he played a lot as a rookie. He was pretty much the starter the whole year. He had 12 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. He averaged 6.9 yards per attempt. They really didn't get the ball down the field much. The next year he came back, didn't play that well either. Also had 6.9 yards per attempt statistically that year. And in 2015, Ryan Fitzpatrick took over the team, and they did get the ball down the field to Brandon Marshall. I remember Eric Decker had a huge touchdown year. And that really spelled the end of Geno Smith as a starter when it was Ryan Fitzpatrick so clearly outplayed him, not with the exact same personnel, but with most of the same personnel. Of course, the Jets ended up blowing it the last week of the season against Buffalo, and Fitzpatrick did not play well in that game. They missed the playoffs. But pretty much since then, Geno Smith hasn't really started. I think he started one game since then.
Yeah. I have no faith. I have no faith in Geno. On top of that, I have no faith in Seattle's defense. They've given up at least 450 total yards in each of the last 4 games. Defense is bad. The running game can't do anything. And now you've got a backup quarterback in there on the road. I like Pittsburgh to cover this spread fairly easily.
I would say just one thing on this.
Yeah.
A lot of people were talking about Ben Roethlisberger played well against the Broncos. Maybe he's back. If Ben Roethlisberger is back, and his game is not in decline. I see you smiling. Okay. This would be the game because Seattle has not played well in the back end. Yeah, you've got to be able to put up points in this game. You're going to have a Seattle offense. It's probably going to stall quite a bit. This would be the game where you need to show that you're back.
Yes. You need to have one of those games where you're averaging 9 or 10 yards an attempt, multiple touchdowns, and just moving the ball up and down the field because everybody else has done it against Seattle. You should too. Last game, the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. The Bills only 5.5 point favorites in this game, despite being on the road.
I got the Bills by 10, and I have several points to make. But I'm going to let you go. I want to hear your, and I feel very confident about this one. Even with the big win against Kansas City, I don't think Sean McDermott's going to let these guys come down.
So I want to read to you Derrick Henry's rushing yards per game throughout his career. Okay. 2016, 32.7, 2017, 46.5, 2018, 66.2, 2019, 103, 2020, 127, 2020, 128. Just getting better with age. He's like a fine wine, Elliot. They're really balanced on offense. I think Julio Jones might be back. Ryan Tannehill is better than you think. But I'm taking the Bills.
Oh, all of that. I was just letting you get through all of it. And
Buffalo is the best team in football. I really think so.
I just looked up something because I was going to get you with it. And then I decided, I'm not going to do that.
Bills are good. What else can we say? Like they're the most well-rounded team in the NFL right now.
Okay. I got a couple of notes on the Bills here. I'd like to just share with you. They are third in third down offense and they're fifth in third down defense. If you're top 5 in third down offense and third down defense, you're going to win a heck of a lot of games.
Sure.
None of these stats all by themselves are great, but when you couple them with other things, they're the number 1 red zone defense in the NFL.
Yes.
Now, I know what someone's going to say, yeah, man, but they played Miami.
They can only play who they play,
Texans, right? They played Washington. Well, last week against Kansas City 3 different times got in the red zone. They got a field goal. The Bills got a fumble recovery, and then they intercepted a little flat pass from Patrick Mahomes, all in the red zones. So they've done it against the good teams too. This Bills team is the best team in football. It's why I have them at the top of the power rankings. Give us that podcast, shameless plug. It was on Tuesday. Go back and look. I can't see any way the Titans win this game. So I want to shift this game to a different discussion, if you don't mind. Plus, it's our last game, right? We don't have any games.
Yeah, we're good.
Are you one of those people that's concerned about Derrick Henry's workload in terms of the future?
No, because running backs don't last that long anyways. So the best way for the Titans to win is just giving Derrick Henry 30 carries a game and riding him that way. I'm not worried about it because you're not really concerned about using these guys when they're 29, 30, 31. So why not use up the primes as much as you can?
Okay. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Obviously you want Derrick Henry to be effective in years going forward. So like, hey, let's just use him up this year. I don't know if that's the way you want to go, but
it's just kind of the nature of the running back position now, right?
Not for every back. There are some special guys, and Derrick Henry may be one of those special guys. There have been players in NFL history that have had tremendous workloads and been able to sustain it. Barry Sanders.
But isn't that kind of the appeal to Derrick Henry is, hey, we can give him 30 touches a game because he's so big and so strong and physical. And we know that he's not going to wear down as the game goes on.
That's what actually kind of worries me about him is there have been very few power backs that have been able to last, a really long time in NFL history, including recent vintage.
But he's not really a power back, though.
That's
right?
fair. He doesn't run over people. Sometimes he does take a lot of hits, though.
He takes a lot of hits, but a lot of his game is, it's 2 yards here, 3 yards here, and then an 80-yard run. Like that's he's almost like Chris Johnson, just 60 pounds heavier, right?
Well, do you want me to give you some numbers here about Derrick Henry? Do you want me to circle back to CJ Uzomah and go back to some Bengals tight end?
I want you to go back to Quez Watkins, please. That sounds way more fun.
All right. So, do you know who has the record for the most touches in an NFL season?
James Wilder, right?
That's correct. 1984. The guy carried the ball 407 times. He caught 85 passes. That is just ridiculous.
It's a lot.
Derrick Henry would be on pace to beat that with the new 17-game schedule. That's how many through 5 games. He's got 156 touches. So you're talking about 31 touches per game in a 16-game season. That's 496 touches in a 17-game season. That's over 527 touches. That's an insane amount. Now, I have seen some guys have incredible workloads. Edgerrin James, his first 2 years in the league, had 881 touches, 99 in 2000. Remember when Edgerrin James was just amazing? Sometimes I think people actually underrate him, even though he's in the Hall of Fame. Different conversation, obviously. Edgerrin James got hurt, but he came back and he had a couple 1,500-yard years for the Colts and had a couple 1,000-yard seasons, although he wasn't the same back with the Cardinals. So maybe Derrick Henry's one of these guys that can handle it. But Marcus, over 500 touches in a season, that is unbelievable.
He won't get there because he had one game where he had a ton of passing game work. I don't think that's going to happen. So, and there's been a game where he had 32 or 33 carries. There's going to be some games where they just get into some negative game scripts and he's just not on the field. So we're a little too early into the season to worry about it. I'll just say that.
Just to kind of circle back on a point I made about Baker Mayfield, I like looking at quarterbacks on third downs, particularly when quarterbacks have not played their best football. Ryan Tannehill has not been bad this year, but I think it's fair to say he's not been as effective as he was last year either. Third down has been the culprit for him this year. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on third down. He's gotten sacked 10 times on third down alone.
The offensive line's not very good. No, it's not very good. So that's why they're trying
secondary.
No, that's somehow even worse. But they're just trying to run the ball to avoid getting into long third downs, which exposes Tannehill. They'll be fine. Titans are good. Just you'll see. This game's going to be closer than what you think.
Okay, so you've got the Bills winning this game, but only by what?
I like by 7. I'm saying I just think this is going to be a game, Elliot, where there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter and it's a 3-point game, right?
Okay.
That's what I mean.
All right. So just for all the people that are in pick'em leagues, because we did so much gambling talk, let's go back over and just do our straight up picks on it. Can we go back over this?
Yes. All right. Yeah, we'll do it really quickly. Bucks, Eagles, we both have the Bucks, right?
Yep.
Dolphins, Jags. I have the Dolphins. You have the Jaguars.
Correct.
Chiefs, Washington. We both have the Chiefs. Packers, Bears. We both have the Packers. Correct.
Yes.
Rams, Giants. We both have the Rams. Texans, Colts. That's kind of our survivor pick. We both think the Colts are going to win probably pretty easily.
And it's a good time. When are you going to use them again? Right. So
yeah, probably never. Chargers, Ravens. We both like the Chargers to pull off the upset.
Right.
Bengals, Lions. You're staying away, but we both picked the Bengals.
Correct.
Vikings, Panthers. I think you picked the Panthers and I took the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cardinals, Browns. We both like the Cardinals. Yep. Cowboys, Patriots. You like the Cowboys. I like the Patriots. I'm higher on this Patriots team than I think you are. Raiders, Broncos. You have the Raiders. I have the Broncos. Seahawks, Steelers. We both have the Steelers. And Bills, Titans. We both like the Bills to win their 5th straight game.
That's right. One more time. Spread on the Cowboys, Patriots, since we differ there.
3.5.
3.5. Oh, I like the Cowboys by 3 in that game. No, that is Tough.
It's me. I will say this: you can shop for lines because that one has moved a ton. I've seen it on certain sports books at 4.5 and even 5 for the Cowboys are favorites. So if you're going to bet on that game, make sure you shop for the best lines.
Over-under's tough on that game too. You want to have it low given the Patriots defense, but the Cowboys have been putting so many points on the board. You can't have it too low. How much trust does Vegas have in Belichick? I'm going to go 46.5 on that game.
Ooh, you are way low. It's 50.5 and 51 on some sites.
Well, no over-under Nostradamus from me this week.
It's all right.
It's the way it goes. All right, we have anything else to get to? I think we covered.
I think we covered all. We're good. Let's save the rest of our good content for Friday's show. How about that?
Yeah, Jets talk. I say Jets Falcons bye-week talk. Sounds great. We will pod tomorrow. We usually do it around this time, about 12 o'clock Pacific. That is audio only. Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. And then, of course, we will be back on Tuesday where Marcus can speak out of both sides of his mouth about the Patriots when he says, I'm too high on them in the power rankings. And he comes back Thursday and says he's higher on them than I am. So there you go. I had to give you that. Take care, man.